a girl, the girl of your dreams, and then she's with the military or something, and then she has to go away on posting
Well,
for
I wouldn't do that anyway.
3 months.
I wouldn't do that anyway. How emasculating would that be for me to go with a girl in the army? No, wouldn't do that. So picking another scenario there, DeeRay. No, picking another one.
So not necessarily the military. She could be maybe like a one of those doctors that work across borders.
Again, doctors, it's never going to happen.
Hey yo, we're back again. It's your boy, another episode. I know what time it is, the same time, people, where we discuss hot topics. Lizzie in the building. What about you?
Hey.
And my brother Blair.
DeeRay.
And we've got Jai.
Hello.
The Thai.
Hi.
All right, guys. So today we're going to be discussing another hot topic. Yeah, this one here, it goes like this. Long distance relationships. What are your thoughts on it?
I think it sort of boils down to how much times a week can you be arsed with seeing your partner.
Bro.
No, it's different for me. That you would think I would be being somebody who wouldn't mind that because I really want to see them once in a while. But I'm, as you know, yes, a very passionate man. So I would find it difficult not seeing my partner less than 3 times a week.
All right. So you definitely can. You're saying you can't do
I've done it once
really?
and it didn't work. Yeah, could do it again.
Okay. Let me go to Jai real quick. Yeah.
Well, my opinion would be it depends on what stage of the relationship it is, really.
Right.
I mean, you could be together for some time and then circumstances involve you to have to move away from each other.
Yeah.
If you've been together for a long time, it can work perhaps, but I suppose it just really depends on the situation, how stable it is to begin with.
Have you been in one before?
Yeah.
And how long did the
And it was really fresh, actually, so it was
Okay.
doomed from the beginning.
Okay.
So it was all butterflies and all that jazz. And we thought, we can make it work, but it was just it ended up in tears.
How long did it last?
It lasted like about 8 months.
That was about the same length time mine
Yeah.
lasted. There seems to be a kind of sweet spot on that. There seems to be a bit of a time limit.
There is.
Right.
The dedication runs out after 8 months.
Yeah.
But then what about, as you said, then, and you're quite right because I was thinking about this. If you were together, say 4 years, and something happened where you had to split up, not split up as in break up relationship, but if you had to move away, how often would be reasonable to see them with the expectation that at some point you're going to move back in together or whatever,
I would say it would depend on the security in itself. If you guys work really, really well together and you have grown together in some kind of way, I think it could work. You are secure in each other. You're secure enough to be able to leave each other and trust each other. It comes down to trust as well.
For me, it wouldn't even be that. It's not even what's she doing over there. It's more I would miss her too much. It would just be like, what's the point then? What are we doing if I can't have like an intimate relationship? Because there's nothing, you can have as much phone sex as you want. It's not the same.
And I think there's going to be a lot of sadness and loneliness and heartbreak as well during all of that time. So
Being apart.
the missing part of the person. And I guess if you have like a set plan, you see each other every other weekend, or it's a routine in place perhaps.
Yeah.
That the needs are met, but I am also a passionate woman, so I would require a side piece.
Just to keep that relationship going. You need something
exactly.
else to
Yes,
distract
taking
you.
over.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. I have that allowance.
Right. So I think, Jai, you touched on something there. You said it depends on understanding and how long you've been together before you had to go apart, right?
Yeah.
Is that like
the stability of it all as well, and where you are
So-
emotionally.
So, what about for people who meet themselves online? You're here in the UK, you meet someone in, let's say, United States. Like, you start a relationship. A relationship can be started that way, right?
No.
Why?
No way.
No.
Why?
Because it's just so unrealistic. I just wouldn't even entertain
And
it.
unnatural.
But isn't that always with
Unnatural.
a?
Yeah,
Isn't
yeah,
that
of
always with a
course.
hope that you would see this person in person?
Not that far, no.
Come on, who here has watched 90 Day Fiancé? It never works out. it's never right. You're from, completely. It's different if you meet the person there. If you're maybe on holiday or you're working in the country or something like that, and you meet somebody, but you cannot get wit and personality across in text messages. You just can't. That's why one of the reasons I stopped doing the online dating thing after my last relationship, because it's number one, as I've said before, women are always just so disappointed whenever I turn up and they see how short I am. So that's one of the reasons why I don't do the online dating thing anymore.
Did you not put your height on the thing?
No way. No way. If I put my effing height on thing, you would get a snip.
Get a response. I'd be like, no, bye.
But sometimes if I can meet them in a place, I can go, yes, I know about this, but just come here.
Just come here.
Mirror, see you.
Just come here and chat with me. So, yeah.
Okay, so it's a no-no for all of you going online and starting a relationship, knowing that you're not going to see yourself for a long time.
It's the distance. Like, it's unrealistic to start to try to develop a serious relationship with somebody who lives in LA or New York, or, maybe if they lived in, maybe in London or somewhere like that, or maybe in like over in Europe somewhere, it's more realistic. But
Stranraer is about as far as I would go.
Yeah, like that type of distances. I think that's a little bit sad if you're doing that. I'm sorry, but
it could be sad. But you know what? There are some people out there that
that's their comfort zone.
Or maybe a bit on the spectrum, or have problem conversing, and that's the easiest way for them to start a relationship.
Asexual.
Yeah. And that's like they just want companionship.
Yeah.
Like there are
That's
people out there
enough,
that do that. It's different from maybe people like us who are quite outgoing and tactile. It'd be very, very alien. But maybe for some other people that are just have problems meeting people or talking to people in the first place, that's a good step for them to do, and maybe not impossible. But it isn't the natural way of things. But I
don't think for young people anyway. I mean, there's. Maybe pejorative, but there is certainly it works. I think some of the dating sites works for maybe older displaced men and women, maybe who don't go out maybe as much anymore, or the bowling clubs have been closed for years, for about a year now, so they don't really get out as much, and they maybe fancy a bit of company or something like that, or.
In what situation would you actually date someone knowing that they are going to be far away from you for a while?
I would need to have a flight already booked to be going over there to collect them or something.
So let's say, for example, you meet someone, a girl, the girl of your dreams, and then she's with the military or something, and then she has to go away on posting for
I wouldn't do that anyway.
3 months.
I wouldn't do that anyway. How emasculating would that be for me to go with a girl in the army? No, wouldn't do that. So pick another scenario there, DeeRay. Pick another one.
So not necessarily the military. She could be maybe like a one of those doctors that work across borders.
Again. Doctors, it's never going to happen.
Bro, you know what I'm saying, though.
Stop being insecure.
He's just trying to be a bit difficult. What about a teacher? Someone who works at maybe a professor in the university. Okay, maybe not a professor. Maybe a teacher somewhere who has to go away on work.
A substitute teacher. With like a gammy arm. A substitute teacher with a gammy arm. Yeah, okay, let's start with her.
Aww.
So this person has to go away for a while. Would you?
So I've met her here and she has to go away for a while. Where to? If it's one of those doctors without borders countries where she might get something.
Little.
No, I'll forget about it. Where?
Little.
But I mean, I'm just trying to understand because we probably have some viewers who are in that relationship.
3 months, fine, but that's because that's a short-term thing. But if it's going to be indefinite or whatever, no.
Definitely not indefinite, because what's the point of having a relationship with someone you're not going to be with indefinitely?
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense, right? Does it? But it is with the hope that you would be with this person together in the long term. Yeah. But there might be circumstances that would warrant this person being away for a while. So how length? Like, what's the limit on how lengthy?
Yeah,
a while would be.
Well, the visa for getting, if you were an American and you were to meet somebody in Spain or Thailand or something like that, okay. If you want to marry them, they can come over. If they can get a 90-day visa and they can stay with you and they can get married in that time frame. So I would say maybe 3 months would probably be
the longest you're willing to wait.
Yes, if it was if it was then permanent, if there was permanency to it after that, yes, but not back and forward. Not 2 months on, 2 months off.
You wouldn't do that for like a couple of years.
You reckon?
No, I wouldn't do it.
Not at all.
No.
Not even. So you can't date a student who studies abroad then.
But that would eventually she would move home.
Eventually, but maybe if she's in year 2 of a 5-year course.
Well, I'll tell you what. There's been examples, but I would say there's been more examples of. I know plenty of friends whose girlfriends went to university in like Northumbria or Liverpool, or vice versa, their boyfriends went away.
Right.
And it didn't take long before they started going to the student bars and they started meeting other girls and they started hanging out at house parties and stuff. That doesn't last either.
So I mean, I know you, Blair, right? And I think most times when you're going against any particular reason to want to venture into a relationship, it's mainly around those insecurity points that you always bring out. So if you like someone or you love someone, you should be able to trust them enough to let them, you know what I mean?
But I'm not saying that. I'm saying that what eventually happens is reality, as it happens.
Yeah, I mean, so even if you're married to someone, they have to, you're always not together. There will be times you would have to let this person be with other people.
How many people do we know whose parents are still together?
All right, I'm not going to go there. Lizzie, talk to me. So how long is the longest time you wouldn't mind being away from someone you're dating with?
Again, it depends on how long I've been with them,
right,
and how attached I am to them. Probably one day if I'm very attached.
If you're very attached.
Yeah, and if I can be away from them for a very long time, then maybe it's not really very solid.
I mean, what about you? So we're thinking about it from the other person's perspective, right? So what about you? You could have work that would take you away from home for a while. So, I mean, that is your work. That's your means of livelihood.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do in that situation?
I mean, that's then something that I can't help, and that's just a part of life that I have to accept.
So if your partner was in that exact situation too, he has to go on for work away for a while. Is that going to be an issue for you?
No, not necessarily. Maybe if it was for leisure and they wanted to go without me, then maybe it would be an issue. But if it's a work thing, then obviously it's real life and there's not really much I can do.
Right. So then how long and how far away?
Oh, I don't know. Like,
have you ever been in a long distance relationship before?
No.
You've never?
No.
Have you had friends who have been?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
So you won't be able to relate to this topic as much as if, but you've thought, is this something would this be like a factor before deciding to date someone then for you? If, maybe, let's say someone comes out of town, maybe on a holiday, and maybe this person's around for like a couple of weeks and you've been meeting this person on a daily basis for a couple of weeks, and we can fall in love. Anyone can fall in love with anyone, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And this person has to return back, but with the hope of being with you later on, because obviously you are in love. You've had daily interactions with this person.
For how long?
So, I mean, so it could be someone you've met at work.
You said on holiday, sorry, there was a...
No, so if
what's the question again?
So what I'm saying is, for example, you have someone, maybe at your workplace, maybe like an auditor who has come around, or someone from outside of your immediate environment, but still within the same organization, has come around to do like some placement work or something within your business area for like a couple of weeks or a month, and then you have had to interact daily with this person, and you fall in love with this person. So what would you do in that scenario?
I think get it while you can. So I would always just jump in head first and enjoy it, and whatever comes of it, comes of it.
But would you want to put in the effort to try and get that relationship to work?
Yeah.
So how do you think you would go about it then?
Obviously, I would enjoy the time that we have together, and if they have to leave, then I would see how, it goes and how the feeling remains, and if we can make it work, and if we can, then great, and if we can't, then I would just move on.
Move on, yeah.
I'm cold-hearted.
I'm a total hopeless romantic in that I would do something stupid, like if I met somebody, if I was over the weekend, even just a weekend at like Liverpool or something for a night out, and I met somebody, and we exchanged numbers, and I really felt it, and maybe I seen her the second night I was there, I would move and work in like the spa or something over there just to be
close to that person.
Yeah, just to be near.
Yeah.
The only reason guys do anything is to get their whole. If I like the only reason I try and get a good job.
I'm a guy. I would
disprove that. The only reason you try and get a good job is so that you can provide for for the person you're with, or to be impressive to anybody else that you're with.
Not really. You want to provide for yourself first. That's the reason I work. I want to provide for myself and my family, right?
Everything I
have
on me, I have owned for at least 2 or 3 years. I don't buy stuff. I'm not overly.
You don't buy stuff to keep.
No.
You don't think long term.
As long as I can feed and drink myself in the early grave. That's all I need my money for.
Blair wasn't being serious about that. He just so for FYI. So Jai, you said you've been in a long-term in a long-distance relationship, and it only lasted 8 months, right?
Yeah.
What was the reason for the? I think you mentioned that you guys were probably just messing about in it, not like taking it seriously.
It was all very. It was just really, really intense, and I think
intense how?
It's just an intense and maybe in like a lustful kind of way, but like obviously I got really overly excited by going, oh, we're going to plan the future. I nearly moved over there.
Where is this? Okay, all right.
And so.
But is it a different country? Just so I know.
UK.
It's still within UK.
Yeah, in the UK.
Okay,
so,
all right.
But like I have my sons and everything's here, so
right.
like it was like a very big step for something that
to move. Yeah, I understand that.
You know, that
right.
wasn't for so long, and I think, you know, because everything was so fresh, you know, it was doomed to end.
Right.
But I, you know, because you're so swept up with things and you're wanting to make it work, and I think initially everybody kind of eventually wants to meet somebody and settle down.
Yeah.
So they're kind of
sometimes we can't really help where we meet the person that we actually you know fall in love with. I mean, do we all agree on that? You know, yeah, right. Okay. And so the example you've given here is you know, it was intense at the start and then it began to fizzle away, right? Is that
it got like, I think there was like a lot of insecurities on both sides.
But that can happen for a relationship here within the same location rather than being away from each other, right? So I suppose being away from each other didn't really help that much, did it?
It was really hard. It felt like a breakup every time.
Every time, yeah.
Every single
and
time.
And would you like travel down to
yeah,
you know, mainland?
I would go across the water.
Like on a bi-weekly?
As much as I could, and I didn't really make a lot of money. I still don't make a lot of money. But like, you know, it was like a lot out of
a bit of challenge.
Well.
All right. So there could be so many constraints to sustaining a relationship, a long distance relationship, from the emotional sort of.
It really does feel like a breakup.
Emotional, financial as well, right? So you have to have a big heart to be able to sustain.
Yeah.
It's a lot of sacrifice.
It's a lot of
It
sacrifice.
just means that it breaks even harder. If you have a big heart with those kind of things, it just makes it 10 times worse, actually. If you're a wee bit cold-hearted, then it's kind of easy because you don't really care how often you see them. But if you've got a big heart and you really miss if you really are into that person, it really is difficult. You know, every time you leave them, knowing you're not going to see them again for 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
So how do you think long-term relationships can work? If you have a friend that is in a long-term relationship and you know your friend is like so much in love and you just really want it to work for them, what would you advise? Let me start with you, Lizzie. How would you advise your friend who's?
I would advise them for them to try and work with their partner and how they could live together rather than apart.
Right.
I mean, it might take some time, it might take some sacrifices, but I would advise them to try to work towards
being together, right?
That they don't have to be apart. Yeah, right. That would be my advice, because I think long term it won't work.
Right. So, and in making that decision, so one person, well, let's say in both scenarios, I mean, for both cases, they both work. So there has to be a compromise as to who is going to leave what work to be able to move to the other person's location, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Right. And so just putting this one out there, right? So let's say you're on like 40 grand a year and maybe you're like further down in your career lane, you know, your career than as compared to the other person in a relationship who learns considerably less, but you obviously want to make it work. It only makes sense, right? Do you know? Does it only make sense that who is earning the higher earner should remain, and then the lower earner?
Not necessarily. I mean, if you think that's just going to breed resentment, what if that person who just started their career, but it's the kind of thing they've always wanted to do, but they're only at the entry level, but you're further down your career path? That's why my advice would be, if you're not going to be able to get together, make it work within 2 months, forget about it.
I think you're right in that sense. From being on the other side of the spectrum, you know, you do, if you're not making as much money, and there is like a little bit of resentment because you know you're working around
what
they're doing, and then you know, then almost Like
Yeah.
you're belittled slightly.
Yep.
I don't know. Not intentionally, I'm
No,
sure.
but
it's not
there is
healthy.
the whiff of that, like, and it's
Yeah.
it's not healthy.
Yeah, especially if this other
And especially
person.
a couple of years down the line, you'll be looking back and thinking, I've lived just to make this person a home, or whatever. Whenever you had a career, possibly at some stage.
Yeah.
You know.
So it's definitely more challenging for any relationship to be involved in a long distance.
There is a reason why people's soulmate always seems to live just 2 blocks away,
I don't know about 2
or
blocks
someone
away,
they went to
though,
school
right?
with, or someone they work with.
Yeah,
Yes, there's a reason
just so
for
as to
that.
remove all of those sort of
Yeah.
issues, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, but then, like I said, like I posed that question to Lizzie. So, Blair, if you have a friend or a family member who definitely wants to be with this other person, but they live away, so what would your advice be?
I'll repeat it. If they can't make it work within 2 months, forget about it.
So, why 2 months?
Because any longer than that, it's just going to drag on. I think you're waiting, as I said, 3 or 4 months, and you're not. If something can't really be fixed within, I think that sort of time frame, then either there's no urgency to do it.
What
In
if
which case, is it really
what if
that
there's a
worthwhile?
child involved?
And both, it's the same. It's like the
Yeah.
baby and mama daddy. It's a little bit different. I think that when people have kids, they should put in a wee bit of additional effort to make things work.
To make
Unless
them-
obviously it's volatile or it's not a healthy household for it to be.
Yeah. So there has to be some willingness on both parties to want to
Obviously.
make it work. Definitely for that big step to be. It's a big step, right? To leave your comfort zone to move into someone else's, location, just so as to keep the relationship, right? It's a big effort.
It's a massive, massive risk and commitment. Yeah.
So risk. What do you mean by risk?
Well, especially, I mean, sorry.
No, I like that. I like what
if you think about it, like, what if you've never actually lived with the person before,
Yeah.
and you start living with them, and you realize that they don't use the toilet brush after they go to the toilet?
Yeah,
Like,
well,
you
yeah.
have to be, you know what I mean? I'd be packing my bags that night.
Yeah.
There's all those certain things in a relationship that you don't get from a long distance relationship if you just started it. So say if it's a fresh relationship and you already live in a different country, you don't get those like get to know you moments of spending a lot of periods of
Right.
time,
Yeah.
with each other in that sense. So that's what I would say would be make it risky.
They might eat with their
Yeah.
mouth open. They might,
No, so
these
you-
things
You'd
you just
find that
normally
out
pick up
pretty
on.
soon.
Yeah. They're deal breakers.
For you,
Yes.
but I suppose you would know that long before you actually.
Not if you met them online.
What, and only dates online?
Well, that's what we were talking about earlier on.
Yeah. So no. So why I brought that scenario was that you can meet people online and they can be in different locations, right? So, but with the notion that you would be together at some point. That is it.
Okay, then they let the dog sleep in the bed.
That's disgusting.
That's another one. It's disgusting.
That's disgusting.
All right, guys. I mean, that was an interesting one, really. But I recognize that a lot of people do actually go through it, and some people have had a success at it, and as I reckon a lot of people have had some bit of failure, doing that as well. But I think for our viewers, if you're currently involved in a long distance relationship and you have your opinion or something to chip in there, you can always leave comments on our videos on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and we're also on TikTok though. Yeah, we're on TikTok. And let us know what your thoughts are. If you have any experience to share, we'll be more than happy to hear you out. And also, don't forget to like, share, subscribe as well. And I want to thank our guests again, Lizzie Bo. Yep. And Blair and Jai. So until next time, this is your boy DeeRay signing out.